Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, China urges the Philippines to stop maritime exercises in the West Philippine Sea as it could potentially escalate tension in the region. 11 senators filed a resolution condemning in the strongest possible terms China's illegal activities in the disputed area. And two officials of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-ELCAC, have been ordered not to talk about community pantries amid their alleged red tagging of organizers. National Security Adviser Hermogenes Esperon Jr. joins us live. So China is urging the Philippines to stop conducting activities in the South China Sea that could potentially heighten tensions in the region. The statement comes after the Philippine Coast Guard and the Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Bureau held maritime exercises in the West Philippine Sea. Beijing also tells Manila to stop its actions, such as maritime exercises that could, quote, complicate the situation and escalate disputes. The country has so far filed 78 diplomatic protests against China over its continuing presence in Philippine waters. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have National Security Adviser Hermogenes Esperon Jr. Secretary, good to have you again on the source, and maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Good morning, Pinky, and thank you for this opportunity. Good morning to your viewers, to our viewers. I'm happy to be back again here at CNN.
Happy to have you, Secretary. Let's start with the situation in the West Philippine Sea. Looking at that, let's begin with the Julian Felipe Reef. Last count, Secretary, how many Chinese vessels still remain in the area of Julian Felipe Reef?
Yes, Julian Felipe. Maybe it will help if we could show them where Julian Felipe is. That is Whitson Reef. That is about 170 nautical miles. Can we show, if we can, the Philippine map?
Yes, sir. We're on it. We'll show it.
If you have it already, there you go. Julian Felipe is, of course, in the South China Sea. And you will see in this map that we have three primary claims to the South China Sea, or what we would now call in our part, the West Philippine Sea. We have our exclusive economic zone, and then we have the municipality of Kalayaan, which goes beyond our EEZ, and of course we have EEZ is 200 nautical miles. And we have the arbiter ruling of 2016, which said that the features therein, if they are rocks or high tide elevations, can have 12 nautical miles territorial sea, and that the so-called 9-dash line of China is invalidated. Mm-hmm. And so the next map will now show us where the positions are of China. Can we go to the next map, number 2? It will show that the Philippines has 9 detachments. We have 9 detachments within the Kalayaan Island Group. There it is, marked by our flags. 9 detachments. 4 of them are outside our EEZ, but within our Kalayaan municipality at the top. Vietnam has 21 positions. 14 of them are inside our EEZ. And China has 7 positions. The flag with 1 star at the left corner, including Mischief Reef, which is near Palawan. And then we have there Subi Reef. Mischief, by the way, is 590 square hectares from nothing. It is a submerged feature, but they reclaimed it and made an island that is now 590 hectares. Pinky, that is twice the size of the Bonifacio Global City. Subi, which is near Pag-asa, is 569 hectares, and that is still double that of Bonifacio Global. And Fiery Cross to the left portion is 291 hectares. And so that's how we are in the area, whether you are in the Calayan Island group represented by the polygon there, or the EEZ of 200 nautical miles. You have forces there, including islands that are held by Malaysia at the bottom, 5 of them. And one, of course, Taiwan, right in the middle, which used to be, they occupy Ito Aba, which used to be the biggest island in the area, 42 hectares. Our Pag-asa is 37.2. It used to be the second biggest. Before the islands, artificial islands of China were reclaimed or were made, constructed. Julian Felipe is right there, and it is 175 nautical miles from Palawan. The talk about Julian Felipe. So that's the situation there.
Okay. So, Secretary, ilan pa po ang nananatiling Chinese vessels sa area ng Julian Felipe?
Sa Julian Felipe, from the high of 190 before, last March 7, today there are still 9 Chinese fishing vessels, or sometimes they are what we would call the Chinese maritime militia. Ngayon siyam na lang. What you're now showing is one of that's not Julian Felipe. That's
Secretary.
Actually
Okay, Secretary, so 9 remain. Opo, okay. Let's qualify that. Ang sabi niyo po, they could be fishing vessels or they could be maritime militias. But what are they? Are they fishing vessels or are they maritime militias? Is this something that you have validated?
We are currently studying this. We know that some of them are Chinese maritime militias. We know that some of them are Chinese fishing vessels. But if you have 200 there, then if they're fishing vessels, then they could be getting so much fish. If they are Chinese maritime militia, then they are a force to reckon with.
Okay, it's good you said that, sir. There are 2 areas that need to be discussed here, whether they're fishing vessels or Chinese maritime militia. So sabi mo po kapag Chinese maritime militia, it's a force to contend with. Let's go first to what they're saying, that they are fishing vessels. And then at some point, new ba Secretary, they said that they were just seeking shelter. In fact, Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said na wala namang bagyo dyan, umalis na kayo dyan. So sa mga oras na ito, siyam pa rin po ang nananatili dyan. What do you plan to do? Because I did see also some videos from the Philippine Coast Guard going near those vessels. Ano po, in a way, inikutan po nila yung vessels dyan sa Julian Felipe Reef. What happens when patrols are sent there? The BFAR, the Coast Guard, what happens? Is there some sort of confrontation? May sinasabi ba na leave, this is Philippine territory, or sasabihin nila, leave, this is Chinese territory?
From these Chinese fishing vessels or Chinese maritime militia, so far, there had been no challenges. Itong pinapakita natin ngayon, yung March 7 pa yan, March 7 or later, earlier dates. Pero ngayon, are only 9, and they have dispersed, of course, to the islands that are held by China. As I said, there are 7 islands that are fortified, reclaimed and fortified by China there. So the others must be there. Wala namang, there are no challenges from these Chinese maritime militias, but the challenges come from the Chinese Coast Guard.
Coast Guard. Yun pong 9 na naiiwan dyan sa Julian Felipe. Go ahead, Secretary.
We also challenge them from our positions. If we are in our islands, if they come near our detachments, we challenge them. If we get near their fortifications, they challenge us. Or at sea, it depends who sees the other first. But the idea is to challenge immediately.
Okay.
And that's a way of trying who is in front of you.
Let's understand the situation. Let's go back to Julian Felipe Reef. So that is 170 more or less nautical miles from Palawan. That's well within the Philippines exclusive economic zone. 9 remain there. What is the plan of government now? Hindi ho ba sinabi na ni Secretary Delphine Lorenzana, umalis na kayo dyan? And they have not left. So what will government do now?
We continue. The Secretary of Foreign Affairs continues to file diplomatic protests. It's on a daily basis as long as they are there. And so the actions of Secretary Lorenzana and Secretary Locsin had their effects. They have dispersed. Meantime, the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea has augmented and reinforced its assets in the West Philippine Sea, as well as in the, well, that covers actually both the Batanes area, and we cover also the Philippine Rise, which is about also 200 nautical miles to the Pacific. That's the area of the National Task Force West Philippine Sea.
Right, yun po sa kabila. So what kind of additional action, if any, does the National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea intend to do?
Well, number one, we are maintaining our detachments. We have constructed living barracks with desalination machines, with solar electricity. Pag-asa Island, our main island, which has an airstrip, has its own internet provided by a private company. I think it's smart, but I think the 2 others are getting in there. The ICT is also putting in connectivity there. So that's Pag-asa there. We have 1.2 kilometer that was built in 1978, and we are now repairing that. We also have the DOTR coming up with the sheltered port there. And we are coming up with the fish port there in Pag-asa.
Okay.
We are developing also the other islands, and we are maintaining those with our forces, all 9 of them, including the Sierra, which is in Ayungin Island.
Okay. So, Secretary, there were 2 points you raised a while ago.
Yes.
Sir, you sorry for interrupting. You talked about 2 points a while ago. They could be fishing, or they could be Chinese military militia, a force to contend with. Punta muna po tayo dun sa fishing. Indeed, if they are fishing, doon po sa area ng exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas, which is 200 nautical miles. Is this acceptable? Is this okay na nangingisda po sila sa West Philippine Sea?
The 200 nautical miles EEZ entitles us to the fisheries in the area, subject only to islands or features that may be occupied or owned. But as we are saying, we have not recognized that they are in those positions. Nandyan sila, they have their 21 detached islands for Vietnam and 7 for China, but we have not recognized them. We are saying that's part of the Kalayaan municipality, and therefore, since they also have their claims, then there is the dispute. But one thing is very clear: the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea
Right.
entitles us. We have sovereign rights over the area of 200 nautical miles, and the resources that are in the seabed are our exclusive are for our exclusive exploitation.
Mm-mm. That's the point nga, sir. Eh. Ang sinasabi po ng China doon sa Julian Felipe Reef, traditional fishing ground yon. But as you correctly mentioned, because of the UNCLOS's effectivity in 1994, that traditional fishing ground has actually been extinguished, hindi ho ba? Ang sabi nga po, I know that SAJ Carpio was saying that only archipelagic waters ang pwede. But the WPS is not archipelagic waters. So knowing that, Secretary, what is the next move of government?
Well, that is why, let me just explain that the traditional fishing grounds are one in Bajo de Masinloc, as recognized by the arbitral ruling.
Yes.
There is no mention of Whitsun Reef or the Julian Felipe being a traditional fishing ground. That is an assertion coming from China. They even claim that that is part of their territory, of course, because they are claiming South China Sea to themselves. We are showing a map that shows you that China is about 600 nautical miles from Pag-asa, which is, of course, 200 nautical. Scarborough is 116 nautical miles from Zambales, while it is about 450 from Hainan. So we can see from the geographical locations how far the claim of China is. Nonetheless, what I'm saying is there are claims there. They have their claims, we have our claims, and so it's a disputed area. But we have to enforce, because we have UNCLOS for us. We have to enforce fisheries laws. That is why we are now deploying more Bureau of Fisheries assets and Coast Guard assets in the area. And I'm surprised to learn that China is protesting that we are having some exercises on with the fisheries and with the Bureau of Fisheries and Coast Guard in the area. Of course, it's perfectly all right that we can have exercises in the area because that's our EEZ. And some of the exercises are even done within our territorial seas. That means 12 nautical miles beyond our shorelines. But we can perfectly do it within our EEZ.
So
we are even
what do you say?
to take care of the fisheries. We are even supposed to take care of the fisheries. And if we have excess volume, then we can share it with other states.
So let's clarify that, Secretary. Is there a verbal agreement, a verbal fishing agreement between the Philippines and China?
No, none. There's no verbal agreement. It has been mentioned in discussions with the President and President Xi Jinping. You could term that as a verbal discussion. Others would like to take it as an agreement, but on the ground, there is none. We have a fisheries agreement with Vietnam, by the way.
Okay. So clearly, so there's no, let's clarify that, there's no verbal fishing agreement with China, sir.
Well, the matter of fisheries can always come up when two leaders would meet and discuss, including many other things on trade, economy, military, etc. But I'm sure it was one of the topics that was discussed during our visits to China.
Yeah. So if that was one of the topics discussed, Secretary, does that make it all right for China to use some areas in the West Philippine Sea and call them as traditional fishing grounds? Kasi baka kung magkakaroon ng contradiction dun eh.
Yeah, and that's where the dispute comes in. That's where the dispute comes in, and so we enforce our claim to the area because it is within our EEZ. That is why we are deploying our Bureau of Fisheries and Philippine Coast Guard.
Okay.
Uh,
So
of course, backed up by our military assets there.
the Navy. Sir, just very quickly because I need to go on a break. So what is your reaction doon po sa sinabi ng Chinese foreign spokesperson Wang Wenbin? Ang sabi niya, the Philippines should stop actions complicating the situation and escalating disputes. China enjoys sovereignty over Nansha Islands. What do you say to that, sir?
Well, they have always claimed the South China Sea. But as I said, as their lake, but as I said, that's the reason why I showed you the map. We can show that again. We have our municipality of Kalayaan, the first map that we showed.
Yeah.
We have the municipality of Kalayaan. Yung nauna pa, that's actually a Fiery Cross. It has the big three islands, ito. So we have the Kalayaan municipality, proclaimed by President Marcos in 1978. We have our EEZ, and we have our arbitral ruling.
All right.
Of us. So that's our claim. That's our maritime domain. And that is what we are trying to protect, enhance, and improve by way of better fisheries enforcement. Yung mga
Secretary?
detachment naman natin dyan, we are trying to improve them through the years.
Secretary, we need to take a very short break. The source will be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, National Security Adviser Hermogenes Esperon. Secretary, just very quickly, there have been suggestions and recommendations to build structures in the West Philippine Sea. Dahil kapag iniiwan daw natin at hindi natin inaangkin, pwedeng kunin at angkinin ng China. Are you going to recommend to the President to build structures in certain areas in the West Philippine Sea to lay claim, sir, to that area, which is part of our exclusive economic zone?
Oh yes, we can in the future build more in the features where we could build within our EEZ and within our Kalayaan Island Group or the Kalayaan municipality. But we must prioritize our moves, meaning we must improve first our detachments. We have 9 detachments there, the biggest of which is Pag-asa as an airport. We are upgrading our airport there. That is one of our priorities. We are also putting up a pole dump or
Right.
pole depot in Pag-asa, as well as in Ulugan Bay, which is in Palawan, which is facing the South China Sea, the West Philippine Sea. And if we have to construct make some constructions there, then I would certainly recommend that we construct first in the islands that we now hold. We have to, of course, budget well our resources. Hindi naman pwedeng magsabay-sabay lahat yan. But it is very necessary for us to strengthen our positions there. As I have shown you, we are in the middle of so many islands that are also held by Vietnam, 21. And China has its islands there, artificial. As I said, Mischief Reef, which used to be just a fisherman's shelter, is now 569 hectares. That's double the
It's the
size
biggest.
of Bonifacio City.
Okay, Secretary, I need to shift topics. I only have 3 minutes left. Ano po? We need to talk about the NTF-ELCAC. Just for the record, please tell us, ano ho ba yung binigay niyong instruction kay General Parlade at USEC rather, Lorraine Badoy, regarding the community pantry? Exactly what did you say?
Well, we talked and I asked them to desist from making further statements on community pantries with one purpose. That is just to put across the message that we are not, by not commenting on that, we want to tell the public that we are not against community pantries or the spirit of bayanihan. As
Okay.
most of, as you know, the government, armed forces, PNP, Coast Guard, other elements have been into it. Community works. I remember the Philippine Army distributing food packages from March 2020 to July, reaching to about more than close to 1 million 1 million people in depressed areas. Philippine
Oo.
National Police, they have their own program. So I think
In fact-
everybody loves community pantries and bayanihan spirit. So I simply told
So,
Undersecretary Badoy and General Parlade as our spokespersons in NTF-ELCAC to desist from issuing statements on
statements.
on the pantries because there had been misunderstandings on our positions. But
So,
I want to repeat that we are for the community pantries.
okay, that's very clear. But Secretary, is there a gag order on community pantries on General Parlade and Yusek Badoy?
I just wanted them to desist issuing statements on community pantries. They remain to be our spokespersons.
Opo. Pero is that tantamount to a gag order, sir? Now, yung gag order sa community pantry, tama ho ba yun? Would that be the right interpretation?
Yes, on the community pantries.
All right. Okay, that's clear. Yes. So I just need to get your reaction on various issues, sir. Wala na po akong oras. There are 15 senators who filed a resolution censuring General Parlade because of what he said nga na sila yung stupid kung babawiin nila itong usapin sa budget ng NTF-ELCAC. Some are not satisfied with, you already said gag order po ito. Is there going to be any disciplinary action, or are you looking into this, kung how this has actually evolved into the possible defunding or realignment of the funds of the NTF-ELCAC?
We are not insensitive to the sentiments of our good senators. Halos kaibigan natin ang mga yan. They have supported us. On the matter of defunding and so we will look into their complaints against General Parlade. We have options on that. I'm sure we can exercise several options.
Such
on
as?
The so-called defunding of the NTF-ELCAC, they might be referring to the Barangay Development Program, which is 20 million for the 822 former guerrilla bases. 20 million each. That's why it's 16.44 billion.
That's right.
This were cleared from 2016 to 2019. Matagal nang nangangailangan ng development yan. Mga kababayan natin sa barangay, kailangan nila yan. At inaprubahan nga ng Kongreso sa last budget deliberations. Ngayon, ini-implement na natin. Tatanggalin ba natin ito? 350 of these 822 barangays are in ancestral domain. Mga indigenous people ang nakatira dyan. Alam ba ninyo na ang NPA sa Mindanao, 70% ay indigenous peoples? Dahil isa, napapabayan natin. Dalawa, pangalawa, mayroong mga nanghihikayat sa kanila. Pangatlo, mayroong nagtayo ng mga eskwelahan dyan, NPA schools. So, tatanggalin ba natin ito na ayuda sa kanila? Sa mga barangay na to, farm to market road, health station,
school buildings,
sanitation, water, communal irrigation, livelihood, rural electrification. Tatanggalin ba natin ito? Alam na nila ito eh. In fact, we have approved already more than half of this 822. I-release natin 535 yung last na sinabi namin, last na nakita kong data. Eh, babawiin ba natin ito? If we defund the Barangay Development Program, that is a signal that we want to prolong the insurgency. communist armed conflict. Parang napakalaking mawawala sa atin.
Okay.
Pinaghirapan ito ng ating mga tropa, ang ating armed forces, police, local government units. Alisin yung mga NPA dyan sa guerrilla basis natin. Binigyan natin ng development at kami nagpapasalamat sa Kongreso sa pagpayag nilang lagyan natin ng development. Ngayon, sasabihin natin, babawin natin yan. Parang I will object to that.
Okay. Okay, Secretary, understood na po. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Isa na lang pong mabilis na tanong. Will General Parlades stay as spokesperson of the NTF-ELCAC? Why? Mabilis lang po ito. Because sinasabi nga that there's a violation of the Constitution, Article 16, Section 5, na no member of the armed forces in active service should be also appointed or designated in any capacity to a civilian post. Just siguro mabilis lang po, will he stay?
Yes, for now, General Parlade and Undersecretary Badoy, who is also the chairman of the Strategic Communications Cluster, among the 12 clusters, remain in their positions. But we will have a review within the week, and we will exercise. We will see the options that are available to us. We are not insensitive to the sentiments of our friends, our supporters in Congress. We will look into that. But for now, pending the results of our consultations and meetings within the week, they remain as spokespersons. And of course, General Parlade would keep himself busy as the commander of the Southern Luzon Command.
Opo. Secretary, I wish we had more time, pero wala na po talagang oras. In the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong for this opportunity to talk to you. National Security Adviser Hermogenes Esperon. Thank you, sir.
Maraming salamat.
And thank you.
Pinky, at gandang umaga
Thank you,
sa ating
sir.
mga taga-subaybay at tagapatid.
And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.